and the talented and skilled developers here who are participating to make this event a success. I'll just go out and introduce some of the judges that we have here and also give them a chance to speak something about themselves. Then we can start with the first participant team. Our first judge is Charlie Burke. He is currently the VP of Live Data. He's also the co-founder of the Boston CDO Club. He's also the owner and principal consultant at Tactical Business Partners. He's really interested in actually helping a lot of startups grow, and I had a discussion with him early on. He's helped a lot of startups really grow and become big companies. Charlie, what brings you here?
Hi, everybody. Thank you for participating. I'm probably one of the few people in this room who was around during the Vietnam War, and I was actually pretty active in the anti-war movement, and this is great to see another generation standing up and telling various governments around the world that things got to happen differently. So that's what brought me here.
That's good to know. We actually have something for you, Charlie.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, Jared, welcome back. I know you were here for the kickoff event as well. Jared is a mobile developer at Adobe. He has also authored a book named Build a Simple RSS Reader for iPhone. So, Jared, what brings you here?
Hey, everybody. Met some of you on Friday, but great to be back. And the reason I'm here is I think it's great when engineers work on meaningful problems. I think there's a lot of startups out there that are really just going after cash or going after, sometimes what might be frivolous problems. So I think it's great to see engineers working on something, really meaningful.
Great. Next judge that we have is Bailey. She is a writer by profession, and she is a frequent writer at intersection of technology and policy. So a lot of you guys who are interested in developing an app for the government, maybe she's the right person to speak with. She's also senior reporter at Private Equity. That's, I think, Bailey, you'd like to hear why you.
Yeah, so I'm just here because I'm interested to see what comes out of this. I think it's great to see developers working on problems that matter.
Right, and we have Vanessa Hill. She is another writer at PBS Digital Studios. She also has a YouTube educational series named Braincraft, which is on psychology and neuroscience. That's interesting. Vanessa, what brings you here?
Thanks. I think the stuff that you're doing here is so cool, and there's a lot of movement at this time around climate issues. Like there's the march next weekend and there's the UN Climate Summit, and it's just really cool to see what's happening at a more grassroots level that can still make a big impact and change.
Great. Those are our judges today. We have 4 teams today that have participated in this event. I'd like to start with the first team now. I think before that we should probably set up the camera. Of course. But by that time I think I'll set it up. Alright, so the way we're going to go about this is once the teams come here, they're going to first introduce themselves and let you know what challenge, the list of 15 challenges that we provide them.
You want me to say hello?
Yeah. So can we start off the demos?
Yeah, can the room hear me at all?
Yes, we can hear you.
Just want to say one more time to the judges, thank you for being there in New York City, and thank you for being there in New York City and joining us in this event, and to let you know that the teams are not just there in New York City, but they're actually united together with organizations around the world to solve problems presented by the world's greatest NGOs, nonprofits, from WWF to the United Nations. We're now part of the United Nations Climate Summit coming up next week, and in the next coming days, we'll be doing a global judging session where the CTO of Comic Relief is on the global judging panel, as well as the head of Walmart Labs, who obviously has a huge impact on the world and when it comes to footprints, and very interested in those things. The first builder of the iPhone, and as well as the creator of BitTorrent. We have other esteemed judges like the founder of Eventbrite that are joining each and every one of you, the founder of WeForest, the reforestation movement. We also have Gavin Shelton, who is the founder and director of Fauna and Flora, not founder, but one of the directors of Fauna and Flora on the judging panel overseas. We were joined by Josh Felser, the founder of Freestyle Capital, who has just recently, and you might be interested in this, launched an app called #Climate. And if you have iPhones, please install #Climate. Take a look at what they've built. They launched it about a month or two ago. The focus is uniting the world's leading influencers with climate-oriented NGOs and action items so that they can utilize their millions and millions and millions of constituents and followers on Twitter and Facebook to raise awareness for climate change. And the winner of today's event in New York and in every city worldwide will get a spot, will be promoted on the app as well this coming week. One more really important thing that I think I'd like to mention, there's over, we have now over 144 projects worldwide. The organizations that were involved in this have presented 132 ideas for developers to choose from, and the developers in the room and the teams in the room in New York City were part of over 1,300 participants in the Global Hack for Good movement this weekend, all live. You can go to the Geeklist Hack for Good channel on YouTube, and you can see live feeds just like this one that have been launched up over the last 20 hours. We started in Melbourne, Australia, and we were joined by cities from Melbourne and Baguio, Philippines, to Bangalore, Hyderabad, Istanbul and Barcelona, Krakow, Madrid, Paris, London, Dublin, Abuja in Africa. Now we're joined by Santiago de Chile today, and Toronto as well, Asheville and New York. We'll be moving over to Dallas after you're finished in New York City, and then finishing off with San Francisco, where I'm at, and Victoria, British Columbia, as well as Honolulu. So each of these individual locations are part of our 6th Hack for Good movement. The first 5 have produced over 80 apps that have actually continued on for social good. These are apps that have been built and started at a Hack for Good hackathon just like the one in New York City today, and they've gotten funding from organizations and affiliations in London, in New York, and San Francisco. They've launched the Tree Tag app was created in the Hack for Good in Dublin, which is a deforestation, stop illegal deforestation app. We united teams from London and Belgrade with a small counter human trafficking organization between San Diego and Tijuana, and just last week they launched the very first iPhone app to help stop human trafficking on the ground, where women and counter human trafficking workers are hands-on solving problems. So this isn't just about what they built in New York today. This is about all of the apps and all of the projects that have been built worldwide. And Swapnil will share at the end the link where you can see all of those projects, and we'll email that out to you. Please do get involved and see what's there if things interest you. The teams here have all of our support from Geeklist and all of our investors, from the organizations involved. All of them are waiting and looking to see what's going to be built so that they can collaborate and build projects based on those apps. We're also joined by 2 other esteemed judges. The head of NASA's Open Data Movement is one of our judges, and very eagerly looking to see how people are using data from NASA. That's Marie-Noelle Kaiser, as well as our esteemed judge presiding over the entire Global Hack for Good event this time around is Sir David King, the United Kingdom's former chief scientific officer. He is also the current special representative for climate to the United Kingdom government. and he's presiding over the entire judging panel. So we're really grateful for you to join everybody. Thank you so much for being patient with all of the technology difficulties we were experiencing in other cities. And a big round of applause for Swapnil, who busted his tuchus for the last 3 months to put this all together. Thank you, Swapnil. And with that, good luck. Let's see what was built.
Thank you, Evan.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you again. Okay, so let's do the demos. Face this. Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to sit on?
All right. So the first team to present today is the team of Carlos, Jason, Olivier, Kostub, and Abigail. The product they have is an app called Buy Me Buy. Right.
General version, I guess. So hello judges, organizers, and the participants. We are Buy Me Buy, and our app reduces food waste by using expiry date data. Maybe we will just wait for this slide to come up. Great. Can we go to the next?
Yeah, it should be. Yes, it was. It was.
Cool. So after this presentation, you'll leave with a better understanding of the problem we are trying to solve, what our app does, and the 3 Hack for Good challenges that we are addressing. So next slide. So we feel that one of the greatest problems is waste. 40% of food is discarded before its expiration date due to expiration date confusion, actually. And that's over 160 million pounds per year in the US alone. We all know this when we go to grocery stores. We don't know the sell-by date versus the best before date versus the expired date versus the fresh date. And so we understand that this is a result of a lack of federal oversight and legislation that is changing depending on which state you're in or even which country you're in. So at the same time, there's over 50 million Americans who are struggling to put food on the table, and so there's a mismatch there. Carbon is in the headlines often, yet methane is 21 times the global warming potential of carbon dioxide, and landfills are responsible for over 1/3 of all methane emissions in the United States alone. So are you hungry for a solution?
Awesome. All right, so I'm going to walk you guys through some of the functionalities in our app. All right, so I'm going to put this close to the camera over here. Cool. So in this app, you'll see the functionalities that we weren't able to integrate the design just because of time constraints. But so here it is. Buy Me app, as you'll see here, is basically just a list of items listed at a discount. Well, items that are closer to becoming expired are seen at the top of the app, and they're also offered at a bigger discount. Let's say that you're interested in an item, you can just click on it. There we go. Awesome. And you'll see more information about the item. If you're interested in purchasing this item at this discount, you can simply just bookmark. Awesome. And then we'll give you an alphanumeric code, which you can then redeem at the store for your discount. Right underneath all this, though, you'll notice a quote, an environmental quote. We put this in there just so we can educate the public as they're shopping about the sort of change they could possibly be having here by getting rid of these products before they get thrown away. You can also see a list of the items that you've bookmarked. So by clicking, you can also, if you're interested in what you're reading right down there, you can click on a link, and it'll take you to the home page of the source of whatever quote you just read. Ta-da! Awesome. Cool. So those are some of the basic functionalities that we have that we're providing here with this app. The design and where we're hoping to take this next is over here. Yeah, sure thing.
The Buy Me Buy app will educate. The Buy Me Buy app will tackle 3 of the climate change challenges we have been presented with today or this weekend. The first one is personal impact. We believe that this app will educate customers with facts, as you just saw demonstrated in the app, to impact waste and methane reduction through your daily shopping habits. So we believe that this could help with that as well in terms of targeting low-income and underserved communities. The second challenge that we are addressing is consumer behavior. We believe that this app will empower behavioral change by increasing the viability of previously unwanted food or food that would have been just discarded otherwise. And sustainable business and efficiency, which is sponsored by Forum for the Future. We believe that this app will provide a platform for retailers to increase their product sales, reduce waste, and boost sustainability. And so he's going to talk about impact and scalability.
Awesome. We really believe that this app could help educate and change public perceptions, as well as we also have we help save consumers and businesses money, as well as reduce methane gas in landfills. We also help increase access to food for those with lower incomes and the underserved. As far as scalability goes, any store can use our app. We never push, or we never aim to push any sort of business model on them. We hope the informative food waste facts that are seen within the app can help educate other people and hopefully be shared with other people as these people are shopping. GPS capabilities allow for location flexibility so that anybody can use this app wherever they are in the world. We also fit nicely into the existing value chain. We are right before items get thrown out, sent to compost, or donated. So.
And by being within that part of the value chain, we believe we want to accelerate that process to make sure that people are using the food that we're producing. And so so as mentioned, this app tackles 3 of the challenges that we've presented today. Individuals can do something themselves to slow climate change through this app. We believe that consumer behavior will be changed. Food expiry dates is an issue that touches us all. We want to be able to consume what we produce and prevent food from going to the landfills to begin with. And the Buy Me Buy platform benefits consumers, businesses, and climate alone. It's a triple bottom line type of product. So in the end, what is our ask? We're asking that we extend the Earth's expiry date. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jason and Olivier. Judges, if you have any questions, this is the right time. You can ask as many questions as you want. I'll start with Vanessa.
I just want to use the app. It went off the screen.
Yep. Charlie, if you have questions.
Yeah, sure. Folks, this looks like it's an app mostly for the first world, since it seems to be based on both possible expiry dates in supermarkets, as well as being in locations where you have multiple selections of where to get food. If that's the case, what is the percentage impact of food waste coming out of the first world as opposed to other parts of the world?
I don't know the exact numbers of what that would be, but the reason why we targeted the first world was because that's where most of the waste is actually coming from. As you saw from the last quote was up to 40% of the food that America produces doesn't even get consumed. All that energy that goes to producing it ends up in the landfill, and nobody even buys it. So we want to target where the waste is greatest and most. But I think that we can this app can be applied in different ways as long as we can change it to make sure that it applies in other ways. The data we're mining is from UPC, from labels on foods. And so those still exist in other countries as well. So we're hoping to bank on that as well.
Any other questions, Charlie? Okay.
Yeah, I'm just curious, say you got the green light and you could work on this project well into the future. What's phase 2? What's the next problem that you have to tackle to make this work?
So I actually gone out and talked to quite a couple of stores about this concept. Most of them, like I didn't understand what I was saying. I couldn't get their head around the concept. Maybe it was I'm not saying it's their fault that maybe they didn't speak English, but maybe I'm not the best communicator or couldn't communicate that to them the best. And then there's other stores, more established companies, in which I kept getting I have to talk to corporate to, I can't really tell you whether we would be able to, bring your product into our store. I have to talk to corporate, or they didn't hear that, or they didn't understand the concept. So I guess just a nice, friendly presentation that we could bring to like smaller stores, smaller mom and pop stores, to see if this is something that they would be interested in, and also reaching out to corporate in like more established stores. So that would be the next step.
Also, A/B testing would be next as well, and maybe piloting it within New York City bodegas, for example, I think would be a good start.
No, Vanessa? Right, so we had 2 questions. Judges, anything else? Any comments? Okay, right, I think we had a good presentation. Thank you, guys. The next team consists of Yangbo Du, Sean, and Sujono. The app that they have built is named Emeralds.
Open the presentation question.
No, so we'll share it and then we'll go there.
So just to preface it, we're tackling the first 3 challenges.
Personal impact, digital activism, and public awareness.
What was the third one? I'm sorry.
Personal impact, digital awareness, and
Public
awareness, sorry, and digital activism. Okay, so Emeralds is a digital currency for civic good. It's basically a civic cryptocurrency, and we're rewarding New Yorkers for reporting garbage conditions, and so that other New Yorkers can clean up those garbage conditions. Its first application is a web app and a mobile app, and the second application is the eCan. We have a demonstration of what would go on top of a garbage can. This is going to be a connected device which is going to help empower users to help clean up the city. We're revolutionizing the world of curbside sanitation through gamified urban beautification. We had a recent cleanup effort at McCarran Park. New York One interviewed Shauna Reedy, and a recent passerby said, clean up garbage everywhere, and I can get paid for it? Yeah, I'd love to do that. And that's the attitude that we want to foster for New York City, because we are about business and currency. Our impact is safe and clean living, motivating cleanup through positive, rewarding gameplay, encouraging neighborhood cleanup, and improving the environment for everyone.
So the functionality of our app includes, so we provide crowdsourced city cleanup data. We're the first game to use 311 data, which is, for people not in New York, a platform for reporting issues around your city. You can report trash on the sidewalk, or potholes, etc., graffiti. We're also an API provider, so we're providing the data that we're collecting from people for these dirt alerts, which we call them, that people can clean up. We're also open source with our Android app on the GitHub, and we're a multi-platform ecosystem with a web app, a mobile app, and connected devices. And this is the eCan, so when you throw trash out, it'll give you a rewarding sound, and you can see a QR code, and then when you scan the QR code, you can keep track of your points online.
through Emeralds, and the also has an educational component that'll tell you what times in your neighborhood you can pick up the trash, and it'll give you fun facts about areas in the neighborhood, and it has a camera in it that'll show you online what's been thrown out. The design of our app has been user experience and design driven from day one. We've been getting constant feedback from users. We have a simple, intuitive, engaging interface, and it's fun and enjoyable. We're meeting the standards for the Google Play Store and the iOS Store.
So what's a fun fact about garbage that they may see on that eCan?
The average person produces over 1.5 million trash per year. Tons of trash per year.
It's a lot of garbage to clean up. Okay, so our viability is that with declining budgets for municipalities, they need more help than ever in keeping the streets clean, and we hope to help citizens participate in a way that's comfortable for them. Some people may only have time to report garbage, that's fine. Some people have time to pick up garbage, that's fine. We want to encourage people to get involved any way they can. So our technology continues to evolve and improve. We've had 50% monthly user growth since we started, and 35% increase in eCan sales. Oh, I'm sorry. So so here are two pictures of Emeralds users who reported dirty conditions, and two pictures of people responding to those, cleaning up the garbage that's there, and reporting and taking pictures of the area after they had finished cleaning it. We have a number of users. I'm sorry?
Hundreds of emeralds have been earned.
Yeah, hundreds of emeralds have been earned through our website already, and we hope to increase that substantially in the coming months.
Our overall milestones through this project have been, we started with a 2-page web app. We're now a full 20-page web application. We have started with 0 users, and we're close to 200 now. We have 5 eCans, live eCans, 1 just purchased by the Downtown Brooklyn Partnership. We went from mobile development, just mock-ups, to a full app in the App Store. And our milestones for this hackathon, we want to specify and clarify for the judges. We've added eCan integration, so you'll see the picture on the website when you throw trash out. We've helped with the Tamagotchi app in Santiago, Chile. This weekend they're working on this fun game which we'd like to partner with them with. We've added 450 images. We create the script that scrapes Flickr of derelict bikes around New York City, so we've increased our data set. And we also have Twitter cards now, so when you post a dirt alert, you can see a nice image on Twitter. We've done a lot of some meta tags fixing and a lot of bug fixing this weekend. Those are commits. Thank you.
So tell us about Twitter cards. What are those?
Those Twitter cards are like the big images that you see when you're post something on Twitter, so you can see the full thing. And where we want to go next with this is we want eCans around the world. We want to partner with people and just clean up the whole world.
So Sean specifically mentioned that we added the derelict bikes from cleanup campaign by Transportation Alternatives a couple years ago. They started reporting, their users started reporting abandoned bikes left around the city. They stopped the campaign because the Department of Sanitation didn't have a way of responding to all the complaints, and we hope to start up that campaign again and expand it. There are a number of other different cleanup projects and campaigns that New York City organizations have started, and we hope to encourage those and grow those.
Yeah. Then lastly, the general idea is that our play is a data play when it comes to waste reduction. So the issue is, and even many quick service restaurants, and that's our B2B angle, is that many large organizations, they still don't yet have a clear handle on what types of waste they are generating. So, for instance, how much food is being thrown out, what types of waste, plastics, metals. So once you can start tracking such data and logging out in real time, then you can do whatever you need to figure out how you're going to reduce that. But you can't take anything actionable until you have a handle on what type of waste is being generated. And we offer that in real time.
Yeah, let's call for a new set of solutions.
I think that was fabulous, guys. Let's have a round of applause. Right, set of questions. Okay.
Great. Thank you very much for that. I find that really exciting because I've moved to New York recently and the wastefulness and the trash just astounds me. I have some questions for you around the reward that you said you were offering. I think that just went over, you went over that quite quickly and I kind of was lost there. So what is the reward that's offered to people to encourage or incentivize their participation?
So emeralds is 100 emeralds for $1. So it's an actual currency reward. So you can say, I'll give you 20 emeralds to clean this up. And also you can say, I'd like my emeralds to go to a charity. So you can donate your emeralds to a cause that you like as well.
You can also cash out your emeralds if you prefer.
The funding comes from people in a rush in the morning that want to just have it cleaned up but don't have time to stop and clean it up. So you say, I'll walk to the picture, just take a picture, tag it very quickly, and then add emeralds, and it gives it value from the beginning. And also people can have impact zones. So you can say, I want to clean up my 5 blocks of my neighborhood, and I'll donate 500 emeralds per month. And that's another way of getting the money into the system.
I just have another question. Do I need to use microphones? Maybe not.
If you can hear her, I think so.
Question is online.
Right. That's.
I think for the
Yeah. Great. I just have other thoughts, I guess, around things like proper recycling, which doesn't really seem to happen in this city, and also e-waste, and if there's any way that you can see this idea kind of branching off to help some of those problems.
Yeah, and actually that is something we're in fact exploring. So we're at beginning stages of talks with, I think it's with the C-Click Fix. They already have a working system within New Haven, Connecticut. It's much smaller scale in New York City, but it's actually the first example of a working community reporting system that reporters can also access for a fee. And through that, just so happened that they also started partnering with Big Belly, so with these solar trash compactors that you may have been seeing. So for us, our focus is really what that is there. So let's first get a handle on this waste. Think of it as, for those of you familiar with the New York Police Department, back in the 90s they launched called CompStat, which was predictive analytics in which you layer crime data upon other socioeconomic indicators so you can identify what are these problem neighborhoods, what are these problem blocks, then target resources specifically. So think about doing that same for waste once you have real-time data. So figure out first what's a problem, what are some certain areas that you could actually have the biggest benefit by targeting, and then target those.
I want to add something too. So the eCan also has a barcode scanner. So any item that you throw out, you can scan it first, keep track of that, and it'll tell you which recycling bin to put it in. And so it'll tell you right there.
Yeah, we do have. We're starting here, but there are places that we want to grow to when we get big enough.
Sure. Do you have a question?
Yeah. So how has the response been from sanitation authorities so far? Because you mentioned with the derelict bike issue, and there were a couple of other initiatives that sanitation seemed to shut down because they couldn't really handle it from a capacity standpoint.
Yeah, we actually For our news interview, our reporter asked Department of Sanitation what they thought, and they said they welcome people to clean up and they support our efforts. So we're getting support from the Department of Sanitation.
I have one of those.
Sure.
So my other questions with the emeralds, is that on, I mean, is it already on like the crypto exchanges? So for example, if you had a whole bunch of Bitcoins and you wanted to change them to emeralds for a project like this, could you do that? And are people accepting emeralds with the same fluency as they are Bitcoins and the other sort of larger cryptocurrencies?
So you can exchange emeralds for bitcoins. However, we're waiting for regulations to come in place and to be solid before we get on exchanges, because we want to always be a true currency, always 100 emeralds to $1, not having fluctuations like Bitcoin does. So we're going to adjust our algorithms to achieve that goal, and we'll have like ways of mining it through the eCan.
I'm just curious what the cost associated with deploying one of these ecans is. As I could see that as being a limiting factor if it's expensive for different sanitation departments.
So it costs us about $350 to build. We're working on lowering our costs. I think we've gotten it. The first one cost us that. The next one is costing us around $225, and we're selling them for about $795. We're also working on a home version that people can use in their kitchen, a smaller version, just to keep track of their footprint with a scale and a barcode reader, and that'll link up to their smartphone. For $99. For $99.
How does eCan, that price, compare with the other trash cans options that have been explored by different cities?
Oh, other trash cans cost $2,000, $3,000, just without even functionality on them, just the metal ones. And we attach to those, so there's no extra cost for them.
Charlie, do you have a question?
Have you guys done the economics on a project like the discarded bicycles that sanitation didn't pick up? What was the carbon footprint for having individuals remove those to wherever?
So a person can take a cordless Dremel, and they just have to charge it up at home, and they can just drill off the lock. And we have 450 bikes. So I would say, and we also have a resource for giving those bikes to a company that takes them and redistributes them. So we have a good loop there, and it's 450 bikes.
Great. Do any of the judges have any other questions? Great. Thank you, team, for being patient with the questions. Thank you. The next participant is Ian Bradley, and his website is named Collective Changes.
Just go to the website, actual website, then go to Changes. Oh, okay. I don't think you need to. No. I'm going to the project from here. What's that called? What's that? Collective change. Ian, it's pretty. It is okay. If you open another tab and put Toma,
Hello, everyone. My name is Ian Bradley, and I created Collective Change. What it is a crowdfunding tool for policy reform and community funding for climate-related projects. Now, if you go to learn more, the consensus of the project was to create real solutions to real problems in the world, and by doing a crowdfunding based on specific sustainability issues globally. One is to support global change and sustainability and initiative in developing countries. About 2 years ago, I was able to go to West Africa, and I saw that there's a real need for recycling because there's a lot of bottles and various trash all over the country. And so we have the technology now to actually facilitate recycling and policy reform in these countries through reverse vending machines. Reverse vending machines, you see them here in New York. people use them to collect bottles and waste and collect money and income. So these are not available in third world countries, which a lot of the people are out of work, don't work, they have no source of income, and there's a lot of trash, which is just money sitting there that they could actually make a living and clean up the environment at the same time. But to do that, that means policy reform. It's not easy to just put one of these machines in a facility in this country. That means there has to be a distribution center. People have to find, some pot of land. The money has to be put up, and so on and so on. And so the process goes on. And so with this site, people can actually, the community, the world can get together based off the region or anywhere, put up money that they want to, help in this initiative and cleaning up the environment, and actually create a petition with names of people that gets on the hands of actual policy makers and saying, hey, we want this, we need this in our community, we need this to actually change what's going on and create sustainable living for everybody. And so hence, you go down to the next, go up.
Go back.
Go to the get involved. Now this is just the website. We want to make it an app also, so people can people can actually connect with other people, talk about this issue, and support it by donating their money through a PayPal account or a pot, and generate enough money based off what is needed to actually facilitate this type of project, either in West Africa, or it could be India or Haiti, places where there's a need, there's obviously a recycling problem, and create change by fronting the money and putting petitions in front of policies, in front of government elect officials that can actually make these things happen. And that's about it. Yeah.
Thanks, Ian. Let's have a round of applause. Moving on to the Q&A. Judges, I think, Charlie, this time I got to start from this side.
Ian, so is the idea, Ian, that you're funding policy change, or you're actually funding the implementation of some of the projects?
Actually, both.
Okay.
Yes.
So what's the intent of fund distribution, say, in various parts of Africa? Is it private, public?
It's kind of, they work with a lot of NGOs. The RVMs are owned privately, so a private company has to go in and implement that, but they have to work with the government to actually purchase the part of land and make a distribution center there to make actual some type of community service in the area.
Okay. Charlie, do you have a question? No.
So say you get the first one of these built, is there sort of a way that people who have donated can follow the progress of implementation?
This is going to be on a social, this is on a social level. This is social activism. So the point is getting the community, the world involved in this. So we want to get the world involved from the inception all the way to actually completion, and say, look, this is what your time, your money has done. You've actually created change in the world by creating policies that actually change the lives of millions of people within their region. And so, yeah.
Thanks, Ian. Vanessa, do you have a question? All right, that'll be it for Ian, guys. Thank you. The last team for tonight is named Don't Let. It's by Philip Lucy, and it's an app named, or is it a website? Okay, it's an idea named Don't Let Your House Sink. That's interesting.
first, Charlie, you are not the only one here who remembers protesting the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
But
pollution with revolution, as the SDS used to say.
That phrase I don't quite remember, but we'll get to it. I was inspired in part to get involved in this particular project. One of whose addressed challenges is awareness. When I was talking with somebody, just before I came up here, a friend of mine who's a very smart guy, very well informed, who just doesn't think there's anything to this climate change stuff. And I found myself trying to dig to get the facts to give him. Well, people need facts, and we have a way of presenting facts. And what I'm going to do now is explain that not only are we addressing awareness, we also want to be addressing consumer behavior, sustainable business approaches, and I'm going to ask our subject matter expert here, Lucy, to talk you through the presentation.
So our basic problem is that the sea level is rising over the years because of climate change. That's one of the biggest problems. But people keep building in waterfront areas because they like to be next to the water, or because they're going to die before the sea level rises for a number of reasons. Our approach would be, how do we influence this consumer behavior, which is basically we keep building and wasting our money building in waterfront areas. So the problem is that A, home prices do not always reflect real environmental risk. That's our first problem. B, insurance rates are rising. FEMA raised insurance rates in flood areas, and they actually stopped issuing certain kinds of subsidies so that people are actually going to pay more in the future for living in flood areas. And C, which is not, I can't see right now. Can you scroll down? Is that people don't understand how much insurance rates will affect real costs of buying a house. The solution, if you go down, there's a bunch of websites that are working on this. The first one would be to actually publish flood information on public websites. That's been done. The second is to allow users to see if their home is in a flood area, and you can search to see if your home is in a flood area online on, I think it's a FEMA website. And then the third thing, which was the challenge that we attempted to do, was to overlay home sale prices available onto flood maps for current flood conditions, and then flood conditions as the sea level rises over the years. And then finally, what we would like to do eventually is to calculate how much, or to at least attempt to estimate how much an individual's insurance will increase based on their location over the years as the sea level rises. So this is a current website. This is Trulia. You can see the sale, all of the houses in this area that are for sale, but you don't know anything else. You don't know if there's back taxes. You don't know if there's all of that stuff you have to get after you assess your initial interest in the house. So basically, what we want to do is to see if we can add more information to this kind of website. This is where you see your flood risk profile. You can enter your address and see your flood risk. But again, it's when you've already decided on a house. It's not when you're actually still making your decision-making process on what to buy. So if you scroll down, this is very rough, but it's as far as we got. We looked at a current flood map. Can you decrease it or something so you can see the whole thing? Yeah. So that's those are current areas in New York that flood. And this is a basic flood elevation layer. And we pulled basically information from one of the real estate websites. So you can see the price, you can see the location of where the house is, and you can see whether or not it's in a flood area. And just combining those two things and putting it online, which hopefully we'll do soon, would be an extra level of information that's not out there. And if you go down again, this is where the sea level would rise to according to FEMA in 2020. So you could see not only where your house is that you're interested in now, but like whether it will be in a flood zone area in 20 years. And then if you scroll down again to the next slide, Oh, sorry, 2050. Then you could see if it's still there in 2050. If your home will be in a flood area in 2050. Some people might not care about this. Some people might, but the point is that the information would be overlaid online. Yeah, so that would just be a public awareness issue. And then finally, our method would basically be what I sort of went through, to pull addresses and price information from current websites, overlay them onto base 2020 and 2050 flood zone maps, and put them together, which is information that is online already, but it's not together. And finally, to estimate the present value of future insurance premiums based on that information. So, yes, hopefully we can publish this information so that people get an idea of the relationship between housing price and true costs in current and future flood areas.
We have a very financially aware public in many cases. And the more financially aware they are of the impact of climate change, the more they'll be primed to recognize the need to address it.
Yeah, that's it. So it was basically, yeah.
Thank you, Bill and Lucy. Let's move on to the Q&A section. Vanessa.
I suppose this is more of a comment than a question, but I think some other things, I really like your idea to start off with. I think it's really cool. Some other things to consider, though, I think are don't let your house burn down or fly away. Also, just to, I guess, bring another perspective into this, in Australia, where I'm from, there are high insurance premiums if you live in an area in the north of the country that's affected by cyclones, and also areas around like the bush that are forest fire prone. So I think it would be cool if you wanted to expand this, like that's obviously not an issue in New York having a forest fire, but if you wanted to expand it to a lot of other cities and apply it to other places around this country and other countries too, it would be cool to kind of see that map with a lot of other types of things that could affect your insurance premium, because with climate change, natural disasters become more intense and more frequent, or is it less frequent and more intense? Probably, I think it's more frequent and more intense, but I think the point is that when these events happen, that there are going to be other risks to your property and to your insurance premium as well.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I had a coworker of mine a year ago lost his house to it.
I should remember to wait for the microphone. I'm glad you mentioned that because last year, 2013, one of my coworkers lost his house to a tornado. I worked for an Oklahoma company and I worked remotely, but he was in Oklahoma and he lost it all. And so that's something that people need to take into account, and making them financially aware, I think, helps the whole process.
I think that's a really good point. I mean, just reading about some of the forest fires that occurred in Australia, I think, a couple of weeks ago.
Just to build on that, I would also say it might be worthwhile to examine some other just livability indicators, like proneness to drought, and issues like if you have a sprawling yard and you live in a drought-prone area, what that's going to eventually cost you over time.
I'm curious, so websites like Trulia, real estate websites, aren't incentivized to put this data up on their websites. So how do you get this information out to the average user who's shopping for a home who may not know that your website exists, or is still going to Trulia and not seeing this information?
There are several approaches to that, and we don't have it all nailed down, obviously, because we couldn't really negotiate with people over the weekend. But I think, number one, that when the data is based on what's available publicly, say from the government, you can get that data and you can package it up and put it somewhere. If a site is publicly aware and publicly available with public data, data, to my knowledge so far, is not intellectual property and not protected. As long as it's good data and you don't have a problem with the legalities of getting it, you can scrape the screen. And we do have a proof of concept on that, because we do have a program we developed that does scrape the screen of the Zillow.com website and try to get addresses. What needs to come together is an understanding of which these websites are and how to pull them together so that you have some unifying force behind it. And if the companies that are providing the data and the websites don't want to be part of that, it's quite possible that other people do have that data available and it can be made available. And we have the mechanisms to do it.
Two questions, one for each of you. First off, are you using regular tidal data there, or are those 20, 50, or 100-year storm projections for flooding?
Those are projections. Those are FEMA projections. We don't have the capacity to make projections.
No, it's a projection. It's a projection. Those FEMA projections are not based on storm surge. They're based on regular tidal information. We're 20 years out as the sea level rises.
I think. I don't know. I'm not sure how they make their projections. That's something that I would have to check.
And then my second question is, you talk about possibly predicting insurance rates, or prediction on what the cost is of insurance. How would you do that?
We took some stabs at that. A couple of us majored in economics. If you take the insurance premium today, you can have a pretty good idea of what that is. And there is the floodsmart.gov website will show you a verbal indicator of what your flood risk is for any address in the country. And so you have to get that kind of data, and then you have to have a way of mapping it to a set of potential premiums that would be a decent estimator for a particular value of a house. If you have the sale price of the house and you have what the flood potential premium is for a given price, you can multiply the two and come up with an estimate of what the flood premium is going to be. But then what you need to do to help the buyer be aware of what the true cost is going to be is start to get the net present value of the future payouts of the flood premium, flood insurance premium. That way, they get to see the dollar amount in today's terms, right? Because that's the decision they're making when they buy the house today. They're making the decision to continue paying for that flood damage way out as long as they own that house. And maybe they got a 30-year mortgage, but maybe they're going to stay in the house 50 years. They're really going to have to cover that for all 50 years. And so we would look at what in general is expected, and these would be the assumptions that would be stated as how we did the estimate.
Thank you very much, all the teams and the judges, for your participation. I think we'd like to give the judges some time now to look at the scores, how they would evaluate each and every team based on the criteria we provided them. Till that time, we would like to thank all the participants for making this event a success. Like to give the, yeah, sure, let's have a round of applause. I think we've been here for a lot of time, right? 48 hours is a long time. I think Swapnil, you might want to say some words for the team and the judges.
Thank you, judges, for coming over at such a short notice. Thank you to all the participants over here. I saw you working really hard for the last 48 hours. It was really a nice time to see you work hard and discuss ideas with you. I hope you get selected to the next round, and looking forward to some nice times ahead. Thank you. Last but not least, thank you to all the volunteers over here. We're working tirelessly over the last 2 days. It wouldn't have been possible without you. Thank you, Kaustubh. Thank you, Norma. Thank you, Devanshi. Thank you, everybody. Yeah.
Hey, Swap. Hey, how you doing?
Good, good. How are you? Good morning.
Good, good. Not quite morning, I don't think, here yet. Good, good. I just caught the end of your presentations. Hey, Bill, good to see you again.
That's Dan Cunningham from London.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? This is Bill Patterson.
Yeah, good, good. Just catching the end of your presentations on the way back from London, the London venue here home. How many teams were you a couple of teams in New York?
Well,
What's your question?
How many teams were you in New York?
We have 4 teams here, and all of us seem to have done a spectacular job.
Oh, fantastic. Well, good organisation there on your behalf, I think, Swap, and your other volunteers. Thank you very much for all the efforts you've put in, and to your venue, to Turn to Tech, and all of the judges and participants there. Thanks.
And I want to thank you, Dan, because I now have the opportunity to participate in 3 different cities in the Hack for Good. I'm glad you're facilitating this. It's a good thing.
You're going on a world tour of hackathon, of Hack for Good. All right. Well, I'm gonna watch back the presentations from all of your teams and check them out. Thanks for all being part of it again, and see you next time.
Thanks, Dan. Well, the judges actually come up with the scores and the results. You can enjoy some pizza or snacks, if you will.
Yeah, because that was really they had a full perception of It's also actually our kids, so because that will be unique specific SKU. So as long as we can use our regular frequency identification. Yes. So as long as those are unique, each SKU from each batch of products. Do you know what this frequency is? Yes, well, we do. Because that's actually how large departments they figure out what they're going. Right, sure. So that you have to Yeah.
It's all yours. One of the things just looking at the areas where you just realize we're all kind of exercise, so state hires. So we bring up the spreadsheet. Each of these schools is what we do on the score. So that we have it relatively low.
Yes.
Now we really get complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah, just give me a second.
I have some, just like for the sharing.
Yeah, mine is started.
I mean, I'm rated I quite like it. Some other cities are I thought that changing consumer and I think that a lot of people kind of mutual
I also find sustainability. So, I guess other than the immediate sounds like yeah. Thinking about yeah. So, not a big market. So I guess what you do is like
I am, yeah. Yeah, I signed up. Yeah, it sounds really deep. I really want to 50%. Like there's close to a maximum. Yeah, we have. Yeah, we really recycle it. Incinerate for power. It's not that necessarily kind of it comes like south. Well, that Italy, right? And you generate
That's how the NASA social
But I think that I'm not sure if it is why you believe that all the that was a I know him. Yeah, he remembers me from the last time we met. He was at where you actually buy garbage. You actually buy garbage. It's actually that's
From the reach score from me. It was the deviation was less deviation was less than no, excuse me, if the score was less than the mean, subtracted right here and I had and did that for each of us. Some those result scores up. Squat. That's the case. Well, so, you want to do that, or who judges? So, like you're going in stores.
I don't have any questions. It only works on Android.
I'm just going to go home.
Yeah. It seems like. Good. Start. You want to confirm it from them? Good.
Yeah, better check it.
You guys nervous?
You just want to sleep.
You're actually just waiting to make sure the connection is perfect. Swap's actually talking to one of the guys in the main center. All right, we're good. So the judges have actually gone through the entire list of the evaluation that they had, all the points, the comments. They're also going to give you comments based on what they felt on your, not only on your presentation but also on your idea and the product that you have. Before that, I would be announcing the results, going in the reverse order. Create excitement. That's the idea. Well, the third, we are only going to be announcing the first, second, and third. So, person on the third.
You can give the consolation.
Fourth?
Yeah, no.
Okay. All right. Person who came, the team that came fourth is the team of Bill and Lucy on. I think before we go ahead, I'd like to ask the judges if they have any comments on their presentation.
Yeah, hi. I think the judges all felt that it was impactful. You had some good foundations of data. Distribution model was okay. I think everybody's greatest concern was the sustainability, which is there really a way to continue development, and does the team show strong desire to see the project through? So it's kind of about age of the team and completeness relevant to the other.
No, you won't be able to. Yeah, that's better. Just move the table.
Oh!
Move it up.
Good.
Yep.
It's working. Yep. The team that came third, it's not actually a team. Ian Bradley, you're in third place for collective change. Oh, you do have a virtual team member?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't have people. Sorry about that. But do you have any comments?
On this one, we wanted to note that this was actually the one that was had the best distribution and portability of all the projects, because it's the one that applies to the third world best as well as the first world. In fact, it's targeted there. And kudos for that. There was some question as to ultimately how you roll it out in the nations in which it's getting rolled out, because there are policy issues there. I think you correctly identified that, and you're right, the governments that may not be as willing or as stable to be able to maintain the product or the engagement as you go forward. start coming from there.
Sure. So the theme that's on that came second is theme of emeralds. Vanessa, thank you for your comments.
Great. We thought that that was a really novel and innovative approach to something like cleaning trash in New York City. We thought that it had a great focus here and in some, I guess, big cities around the US. There are some cities that do have good trash removal programs already, so we just thought in terms of application around the world, it may not be such what has a bit of focus here. Charlie, I think you actually have the scoring sheets and everything, so maybe you're able to give some more comments.
No, actually, in this one, everybody seemed to feel pretty much the same. Across the board, the scoring was pretty good.
I think what really stood out about emeralds was what's the column there? Is it the sustainability, the actual like going to market?
Sustainability.
Can I just grab one of the sheets?
Oh, sure.
Sorry. I was just looking for the words. For the ongoing development of the project, like the team seemed to have a really strong motivation to see it through and had already implemented some of it, and we were quite confident that they would keep going and doing that. So that was
15% strong team. So.
Okay. But it was very impressive to see what you'd already done.
And the team that backs the first place tonight is the team of Buy Me Buy. Congratulations to the team. Yes, sir.
Congratulations. I think for that project, it had the best potential for quite a high impact at a local level. Like it was quite pertinent when you said that a third of all the methane emissions in the US come from landfill, and that's a real like grassroots approach where people can actually have a benefit to change their behaviour, and then it can have a large impact as well. So I think the mutual benefit actually for the consumer and the businesses really incentivises the participation of it. So it's very hard to change people's behaviour and to change people's beliefs, but if they can save a few dollars getting some cheaper food that then doesn't go to landfill and that the businesses can actually sell rather than throwing out, it seemed to be quite innovative. So well done.
Well, with that, I think we can conclude the Hack for Good New York City 2014. Again, I'd like to offer the mic to Swapnil to give some closing comments.
Yeah, thank you all. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for participating in the thanks for all the mentors who came and joined us during the day, were with us during the hacking. Thanks for all the participants who spent time with us. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
We hope to see you next year.
Ruben is there.
Hey, Ruben.
Hey, Ruben.
One second. You're on mute.
Yes.
Ruben is on mute. Dan.
Yeah, I'm off mute. Hey, Dan.
Yeah, we're just completing the proceedings here at New York City.
What did your judges deliberate? I missed.
Yeah, they just finished up, and I guess we were coming out to say goodbye.
We're completing the proceedings over here. The demos are done. And thanks for being with us all this time. Thanks for all the guidance. Hope to make this event bigger next year.
New York. I'd love you to.
Yeah, it was really a Kala time working with you all. And thanks for all the advice, thanks for all the support, thanks for all the amazing ideas. Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks, Swapnil. Thank you, everybody in New York.
Hey, Swap.
Yes.
We're just instructing all the teams to set up achievement cards to share with the world what they built.
Sorry?
We're instructing all the teams to now set up achievement cards on Geeklist to share what they've built. We want to have like a massive board of all the amazing things that were built over this weekend from around the world.
Okay, we'll do that. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll ask everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye, New York.
So,
Thank you.
next time.